tragedy, rivals. Oftentimes it takes tragedy to have a wake-up call to end particular acts that are negative to the community. After thousands of years of human history, we would have enough context to learn from plenty with no more happening to heighten our awareness of the need for change at times. An animal dwells by instinct, and a human dwells by reasoning. And that reasoning can be affected by many different things: a developed mindset, a good atmosphere for a mind to develop, training, or it can be very base and destructive. When we look at the series theme of leadership development, organizational progression, oftentimes, even as innocent and as good-natured we may be in early years, as certain stands are made and certain conflicts arise, even if you can be an angel, so to speak, and it's only a matter of time before sometimes conflict can arise. So it's usually only a matter of time that the idea of rivals can develop. We see this, take it when I was growing up, in the 90s, you had the hip-hop culture, the escalation of gangs, violence in media. Not that it was new at that point, but just more broadcast of it. And a lot of that was brought on by the hip-hop generation. You had the East Coast, the West Coast. You had Tupac rapping "Hit 'Em Up." You had Biggie. You had both murdered. And then there became this awareness, like, hey, we're about music. We're about hip hop, because other ones, they wanted to continue on making their records and having their family. It was about business. Not necessarily resorting to street violence, but it was certainly highlighted during that time. And at the time when both rappers, came to the end of their road, during that period of time when I was in high school, that's when you saw an awareness brought in, and some of that heat cooling down. When we talk about coming off of the family series a couple lessons ago, look, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a certain thing. If you got a little bit of testosterone, a little bit of animal instinct in you, there's going to be ways to react. As I've stated, retaliation is for the weak-minded. But let me not pretend to be an angel here. You mess with my own. You mess with those underneath my watch. Yeah. Depending on that severity of it, the ones who you are under my watch, my own, yeah, there could be temptation to blow your brains on the floor. But what good does that help those that I'm watching out for? What good does that help those that I'm caring about, that I'm saying, hey, this is my inner circle, this is my family, these are my kids, this is my clan, my tribe, etc.? What good does that really do? So yeah, I have that rise up in me. You want to mess with my own? As I said it before, you don't want to mess with the nice guy. I can have that animal rise, and I'll settle the score. Like here's the thing: people can strike first, but I'm gonna make sure that I'll strike last. Now, with that being said, keeping in line with the Gangster theme, and organizational progression and leadership development, take pop culture representation of the mafia here in America. Take Godfather 1, for example, where the elder son is murdered. The father's already been shot, and there's a calling for the 5 meetings of the families. Now, when I say retaliation is for the weak-minded, St. Louis itself, starting with our home base, was ridden with children being murdered, this year. It was on national news. And we can find stories, unfortunately, whether it's rural, city, no matter the age, no matter if it's rich or poor, black or white, or anything in between. It really doesn't matter if you're a city school, a county school, tragedy can strike. And people react, and, bad things happen, and it becomes a domino effect. But what you see rising in an example with the leader, and this goes back to our series about the Don, you see him rising up with the meeting of the 5 families, and what you see is like, hey, no more bloodshed. None of this, no further bloodshed is gonna bring back my son. Nothing here is gonna bring back my son from the dead. So, you make that peace. Now you can still set the record straight, as he, then brought up, hey, now if something should happen, to a second, Michael, the future heir, he lets it be known that I'm still going to protect my family. But his measure, at all costs, if possible, is to keep peace. And we see this going back in our Don series lesson about, you're strategic, you're long-minded in your viewpoint of leadership. So when things happen and rise up against us, sure, that animal nature inside of us, that testosterone, you may want to react. And I've talked in other lessons about thinking on your feet, the idea of a quarterback, and we all get that. But when we retaliate and have a quick-minded fix and such a response system, almost like, a cheetah out in the African desert, you're dealing with an instinct. Something happens, you decide, just like the video when it goes crazy, apparently. So, yeah, that's a great example. We won't even edit that. And boom, that retaliation happens. But for the seasoned leader, those who have people under their watch, those who have responsibilities, you can get to a point where you realize you're not battling flesh and blood. In fact, you're not even battling just, people say the battle's in the mind. Well, it's actually, there's a step even beyond that I won't get into right now. But the simple thing of it is truth or not truth. You're dealing with lines of truth, and when it's not that you're perfect, but when things start to deviate from that truth. And then the secondary subject line you can get to then is the battle of the mind. And then from there, where we deal with in human nature and civilization, where we get a lot of trouble and violence, is when it's human to human. When you're directing your anger and your violence toward a person or entity, gang against gang, blood against crip, south side versus north side, team versus team. There's parameters of that in our culture that's accepted, such as athletics, such as political debates, business negotiations, but there's also parts of our society where it's frowned upon. Factions versus factions, neighborhood versus neighborhoods, gangs versus gangs, organized or unorganized units versus one another. And the thing about it is when you develop rivals and you only see it as the color of the do-rag versus the color of the do-rag, the blue versus the red, etc., you are not seeing the overall rival system that is raging a warfare against you. So look, case in point, someone messes with my own, I retaliate, I show them who's boss. More blood shed does not equate to life coming back. It equates to more drama, more hurt, and it's a revolving domino effect that has no relief and has no real solution. Now, what I can say about retaliation is I'm not saying not to do nothing. Please don't take that out of context. But what I am saying is you don't have to be so anxious to be always the one striking your opinion back right away. In fact, your words, a soft answer turns away strife. Your words might be carefully choreographed at a seasoned moment. I'm not talking about procrastination, but strategic timing, where those same words spoken at another time are fall on deaf ears, but spoken at the right time, it's like a word in due season. So, bringing it all together, I'm not trying to make this one overly long here, but the idea of rivals is you go so far into leadership, rivals will most likely happen. No matter where you see yourself in leadership right now, no matter what tribe you're fighting for and working with, there's things that will rise up against you. And, we can even talk in the business sense of marketing and market differentiation and competitiveness. But the reality is there's rivals. There's things that you are competing against. But if you realize that you are not just competing against the surface versus the surface, but there's deeper representation, there's long-term value. It's not the one who wins the battle like it's always been said. It's the one who wins the war. It's not who strikes first, it's who strikes last. Retaliation is for the weak-minded. If you want to live on your testosterone, live on your animalistic reactions, then there's no place for you at the top of the leadership ladder. There's no place for you to be called the leader of your group. You will always, always, always fall to the level of your integrity, character, and strategic value. The reason why you're placed in such significant leadership roles is because your value is based upon strategy, not alone with tactics. So, in conclusion, when things happen to us, we have to gotta pull ourselves back and see the bigger picture. We've got to be able to play chess and not checkers. There will be rivals. There will be haters. There will be people who gossip about you, people who talk about you, people that cause hurt to those who love you. It may not be with a knife or a bullet, but it could be with conniving, gossiping, backbiting, just stupidity. And people being just all out, let's just use a simple term, mean, dumb, immature. But what you've got to do is pull yourself back into the inner chamber of yourself, right? Inner chamber of the higher power, and realize it's not surface versus surface. Okay? It's not your time period, now I'm crunched for my time period. It's, look, I'm pulling myself back. I'm seeing the big picture here, okay? I'm seeing the big picture here. And you know what? I'm not on your time frame. You're on my time frame, because I'm serving the purpose of a higher time frame that offers strategic value. So blood shed to retaliate to blood shed, whether we're talking about emotional, mental, spiritual, or physical, is not going to bring a lasting solution. That's not going to bring covering and protection to those that you're looking out for. But what does is the maturity and the backbone and the manliness or womanliness, the maturity of a lady or a man who's strong, who's on that type of level talked about in previous lesson, is to pull back, not retaliate, and make sure you count your materials and your money before you start to build some type of strategic execution. Make sure that you can finish the deal and do so in a way that brings lasting value. Oftentimes, the weakest things that might be apparent are the ones that in return give us the strongest ROI and balance and value long term, such as humility, forgiveness, being able to let go, turning the cheek, going the extra mile, loving your enemy. There is so much value in you and so much peace to be had within your circle. Do not let someone else dictate you. You're in charge. Who put them in charge of you? Because they're stupid and they're violent? They're not in charge of you. You be in charge of your own self. And you provide strategic value, and that is the way that you protect your own when rivals arrive. I believe in you. Stay tuned.